Many subscribers are interested in how to transform their land into abundance, but specifically they ask, how do I earn money from my land? So I've been compiling those questions for a number of years. This report started in 2019, but again, I was been taking notes for just probably 20 years on how are people historically and in present modern times generating income from their land. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead, and we're going to talk about that right now. Now, of course, I'm not going to be able to cover everything that's in this report. I do want to tell you a little bit about when I hold these binders up, for example. These are collections of resources. When I ask, when you guys ask questions, I answer the questions and then I put the resources together in a binder. That way, I've captured my ideas from actual experience and practice. I capture them in one place that later I can write a report. So, for example, in 2017, I was working on a big bamboo project, and I wrote about the bamboo farming opportunity, how you can transform just a small acre of land into clumping bamboo. So this particular type of bamboo, moso bamboo, in clumps. You can create biomass, you can create building materials, you can create food for yourself. And this helps you drive another stream of income for your homestead or your small farm. Now, you may not know that a lot of these small farms, these homesteads, are struggling financially. They do not have the income streams that are necessary to pay for the farm itself. And that's where you get the concept of a hobby farm. That's why a lot of homesteaders, and it's okay to do this, by the way, they have town jobs. So the majority of small farmers today, these are people that are under a couple hundred acres. So they have a farm, but they're not 500-acre farms. They're like 12 acres, 5 acres. They are struggling to have the farm production pay for the lifestyle and pay for the core infrastructure necessary. And this causes them to take shortcuts such as chemical agriculture, such as not allowing a field to build up its natural health. And this can be a problem because we are, as humans, we are having multiple constraints that animals don't think about. See, an animal could just move to another area, but when you buy a piece of property, you have borders, and you can't go beyond those borders. So if your neighbor's grass is greener, you just can't send your animals over there. There has to be a way, and that's, again, within the structure of making money, that you can leverage those resources. You either have to improve your fields, or you have to partner with your neighbor in order to graze their fields. Now, if you're grazing their fields in such a way that destroys the field, then you won't have their resource and they won't have your resource because you've destroyed your fields, now you destroyed theirs. That can't go on forever. So many of these ways to make money from your land focus on sustainable and regenerative practices. So I just described one way to make money from your land. So let's say you have pastures, but you do not have animals on pasture, but you're living in a community that neighbors do. One good way to make money from your land is to have the very best quality pastures possible, and then you allow folks to finish their grass-fed beef on your pasture. Now, in some cases, that same pasture can be used to cut hay, and if you're buying hay or you're buying straw these days, you are experiencing price hikes like crazy, and so hay land is a necessary contribution to your farming community. So your farm may not have cows, it may not have sheep, it may not have goats, but it could have acres of quality hay land that is producing bales of hay for the rest of the community. Now, will you be able to make a living off that? No. A farmer doing hay, for example, is only making $20 or $30 per acre per year. Now, again, if you have a combination of things, so you're going to allow somebody to finish their animals on your land, you're going to have, and again, cattle impact on land actually can improve the land if done properly. You got to keep the animals moving. You got to keep them in herds. But if you're allowing someone to pay you a rental fee on your acreage to run their animals for a season, then you've generated income from the land, and you've also found a way to contribute to the land. So the animals will eat the grass and then poop it out. But cattle poop has got digestive enzymes and acidophilus and all this stuff that's actually going to feed your soil biology, which will allow a more abundant growth of vegetation, which can continue the cycle indefinitely. So if you're making $26 an acre on hay land, now this is just this is a high level number. It depends on your area. You can make more or less. You could rent that same land out for $26 an acre or $36 an acre in order for somebody to finish animals on it, and then now you've got additional income. Now the best income from your land is going to be stacked. Okay, so you're going to be, how much are you earning off the hay or primary crops? So it could be alfalfa, could be a hay blend that is oriented towards a certain species of animals. It could be a hay blend, just a general hay blend that you're selling at the farmer's market for small users where you can get a premium price. So farmers don't pay $7 a bale for hay. They're buying round bales, and the equivalent price on a square bale might be $3 a bale. But again, they have the equipment necessary to go pick up those bales and handle it. There's balance here. But if you're growing square bales and you're selling them at the farmer's market, you can sell them for more than Lowe's is going to sell them for, or somebody could buy them direct from a farmer. I don't know if you've seen a couple of the videos on here, but I buy 30, 40 bales. I buy as much. I ask the farmer, how many bales can you put on a truck? And that's how many I buy. I buy full truckloads of straw. Now, one good example of making money from your land is the guy I buy straw from. This is wheat straw, and so he will rotate between wheat, some kind of nitrogen-fixing crop like such beans or alfalfa or a combination, and tobacco. He sells a specialty tobacco to people who contract him to grow this particular tobacco. He grows the beans and the rice, so it's usually like a mix. So he's got equipment to do this, by the way. But he'll grow the nitrogen-fixing crop, which will be a combination of nitrogen-fixing crops and some kind of grain, and then he'll harvest that and create a feed mix. So he'll crack the soybean, or he'll crack the pea, or whatever he's growing. He makes like a random mix. And I think he's adding molasses to that and some other grains. But again, it's fixing nitrogen in the soil, so he's regenerating the soil from the depletion that happened from the tobacco growth. Then after that, he puts the crop into wheat and or barley or some kind of cereal grain. And of course, he has the equipment to process that, which supplements his feed stocks. And then after that is done, he bales that particular field, sells off the bales, but leaves behind a lot of biomass from the root systems that, again, are adding carbon to the soil. That the carbon-nitrogen combination allows the microbes to recover. Now, from time to time, he'll run cattle over the whole setup because the cattle are then processing animals. The ruminant animals are processing, and so that's how he's maintaining it. But the same acre, because it's strip cropped, he's able to produce biomass, feed stock, hay, specialty tobacco. Now, could you do this with other vegetables? You certainly could. The key is because he strip cropped the acreage, he's not getting the volume that he wants, but he's able to conserve the land and feed the soil. And this is an environment that has like 40 inches of rain a year. So he's done this on terraces. And he has vegetative strips between the terraces. But he's able to then add biomass back to the soil and basically ends up with minimal tillage, but maximum nutrient in the soil. He doesn't have to buy in resources. So another way to make money from your land is how you manage the land so that you reduce the inputs necessary to get the same production output. Okay, this is very important. Monoculture is not your friend when it comes to a small farm. Now, the farmer I just described has hundreds of acres, but again, he's managing it as if each acre needs to produce and still have the nutrients to produce again. This is very important. When you cultivate vegetables and you take those vegetables away from the farm, the nutrients in that vegetable used to be in the soil. They're now in the vegetable and they've been taken away. If you don't do the cover crops, if you don't do the rotation, if you don't have animal interactions, then you're going to lose the potential income value of the land, and it doesn't matter what you do on top of that, you're not going to make any money. Now, this particular report goes over, I think the list is a couple hundred things because it really depends on your land. If you've got land that is flat and level and easy to get around, then pasture and hay might be the best option, but not in a dry climate. But if you have land that is forest right now, a lot of people think the only way to make money from forested land is to harvest all the trees, but that's not true. You can have recreational opportunities on the land. You can have camping. So that's part of the recreational activities. But right now, Airbnb is very popular. A lot of glamping is very popular right now because it's a low income. It's a low input to produce a steady income. Now, is it a high income? Well, none of these things are high incomes. Successful farms, successful homesteads have multiple streams of income. So they might be doing their fields a certain way, but then near the house, they're raising eggs. They're raising chickens for eggs. But they're raising a type of chicken that's also a decent meat bird, so they're reducing their costs in the house of having the meat bird. So if it's helpful, I can cover more of the philosophy of making money from your land because, again, I've written a giant report on how to make money from your land. Now, one of the ways that I've seen in the permaculture community, folks are making money from their land is actually working remote. So what is amazing about these times is that you can have high-speed internet pretty much anywhere. I've got the ability that when I'm out traveling with the travel trailer or I'm out camping, I can be fully connected to the internet at 10, 20, even 30 megabits per second, which is significant for doing the editorial work that I do, uploading videos, or even just working remote for a regular employer. And if you can now, instead of having to go into town to work, you can work from your actual homestead itself, then now you don't have that commute time. So you've saved on the commute time and you can reinvest that in actually a market garden or caring for certain animals. I was looking at, I don't know if I'm going to do it anytime soon, but I was looking at goat meat production because the goats would be a great way to clear out overgrown young forest. And goat meat is great. Goat milk and goat cheese is very, very good value-added product. And these are things that I would consume normally. So when I say I wouldn't go into the commercial effort right away, I will likely have 3 or 4 goats that are part of a breeding set that I maintain for household use, and then over time expand that as an additional income stream. But initially use it to lower costs and get better quality product. I don't know if you've had fresh mozzarella goat cheese, but seasoned. And here you can, oh my gosh, there's so many. You can put herbs in it. You can put jellies in it. You can basically have an expansive flavor. It's making me hungry. An expansive flavor from goat cheeses, and a goat takes very little space. Goats eat different things than cows or sheep, so you can actually put them in a different environment, such as a wooded environment. But in a permaculture world, again, how do we stack that function? How do we find the home and the land space that works well? And again, I always encourage you to start where you are, because again, you may not want to be sitting at the farmer's market because you could sit at a remote office job and make 10 times the amount of money. The folks at the farmer's market are usually there for social reasons and also for, they're at the market because it promotes their on-farm activities. Joel Saliston, for example, doesn't go to a farmer's market. His family doesn't go to a farmer's market. They actually have the farmer's market on site. A lot of Amish do that as well. They'll have a little farm store at the end of the road, and that's where their customers from a community-sponsored agriculture or customers for their direct products. Sandy River Meats in my area is a good example of that. That storefront represents a number of co-op members who then sell products and then receive income off the farm from activities they do on the land. There's a lot of opportunities here. In fact, if you do invest in a paid consultation, we can actually pull up a satellite map of both your property and the properties nearby, and I can usually tell you 3 or 4 unique ways to increase income from your property. Now, there's other aspects that you must consider that are beyond the scope of a podcast, but what kind of demographics do you have around you? Do you have a lot of high income or affluent individuals who would shop at a farmer's market rather than a grocery store? Do you have grocery stores? I was talking to a baker here in my region earlier. There's grocery stores that would just love to have more local product, and gave her a list of all the baked goods that they want to have. So she doesn't need a store to do the baked goods. She just needs a good bakery. So she could open a bakery up on a farm. She could open the bakery up in an industrial park, and she could provide these quality home products, becoming a conduit to small farms and homesteads who are producing product but don't have a market for it. So you can even be a marketer to generate income from your land. If you have questions about these things, enter in the comments below, or visit our website at www.prosperityhomestead.org. Go to the contact page and ask your questions. If you're interested in a consultation, again, we add 2 or 3 income streams to your property. It could make the difference between having to drive into town to work or actually working from your home or on your land. A lot of folks that watch this channel have a passion about being out in nature, and they want to do more of that as they move towards retirement, but they rightfully understand that their retirement isn't going to pay for the lifestyle they have today, so they want to earn money from their land in order to supplement that lifestyle. So if what I've shared with you speaks to your interests, I do have a very large report. It's in draft right now, so we can talk about it, but it's not something I can just print out a manuscript for you. The report's not as done. And actually, it covers ideas like cash flow from $1 million estates. It's actually not only how to make $1 million estate, but how to, once you have it, keep it, because multi-generational estates tend to have many income streams. How you can, I talked to a timber owner about how you can make $1,000 per acre gross. That's gross value from your timber. So maybe you have timber land. Again, I can see that from the LiDAR. I can see that from the satellite maps if you have specific questions about how to make money from your land. Now, money isn't the only thing that we want to get from our land, but if you can have a consistent and steady cash flow from your property, you essentially have given yourself financial freedom in addition to food security. Because as you sell the product off property, you're actually having surplus vegetables and meats and stuff that you can eat for yourself. So the example is 3 hogs. If you sell 2 hogs, you pay for the processing of the 1 hog that you're feeding your family. So you get 200 pounds of meat for essentially checking on the hogs every day and feeding them every day, and ultimately fills your freezer. So if that's something you enjoy, it's easy to make additional income from your land, but it does take effort. And so I can help you identify what efforts are useful, what income streams are valuable, and help you develop a business plan. Because really, once you start getting income from your homestead or your estate, if you manage it like a business, there are additional benefits that we can talk about someplace else. But again, ask your questions. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead, and it's been a pleasure to be with you here today. It gives me such joy and excitement to hear your success stories as well. So thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next podcast.